What is up, everybody? Welcome in to a Sunday edition of More Important Issues. It wasn't the day, it wasn't the Sunday. Tennessee fans, baseball fans, people in Lindsey Nelson wanted necessarily, but man, what a weekend! Great weekend to have 100% capacity for the first time. Obviously a big walk-off win on Saturday. Yeah, you want to win the game. That's, you want to do that. But, Tennessee did just about everything else this weekend except, get the series.
Yeah, it's hard to be mad when you compete all weekend. And, the two teams that played this weekend are two of the top teams in the country. Their record shows, their ranking shows. And, all three games was separated by one run. And the whole series was Arkansas outscored Tennessee by one run. It was just back and forth all weekend. Tennessee had its chances. Tennessee could have just as easily had a sweep. That's how tight these games were this weekend. So, yeah, just a great weekend for baseball overall. And not just it was a good weekend for Tennessee. I think it was a good weekend for college baseball. I think it shows how much this sport is growing, how much passion and fandom is behind it. I think Tennessee just needed to have a good. I think Ross Kivett explained that a little bit, where they just need to give Tennessee fans a reason to be bought in, and we've kind of done that. And I think it's really kind of given all of baseball really something to show. I was talking to my dad earlier today, and he's like, "Is the game not on TV today?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "That's stupid." And I was like, "Yeah, it's picked so far in advance, and they're playing lacrosse. I think on ESPN or ESPN."
Yeah, I think it was national championship, but still, come on.
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot as this sport continues to gain popularity. I think you'll see a lot more games and stuff scheduled probably next year and stuff like that.
Well, too, I think it'd be harder, maybe though, and we'll get in. Let's get the show rolling, and then we can kind of talk about the future of college baseball. We like you mentioned, we talked about it a little bit last week with, there's getting some dedicated outlets just covering college baseball. So it's gonna be exciting to see the that sport kind of pick up, and But we are going to talk Tennessee, Arkansas, of course. Great win on Saturday. Great weekend overall. Going to talk a little bit about the rest of the season, regional sites, things like that, as well as the SEC standings. Talk a little football. Talk a little as much content as we can dig out right now. Thank God, Tennessee baseball is fun to cover right now, because otherwise we'd already be in the in the summer completely. So
yeah, we'd probably have to take a show off because we wouldn't have really anything to talk about besides the NBA, and who the hell wants to talk about that right now?
Yeah, why is it so bad? It feels like this every year. Right before the playoffs, pretty much everything slows down. It's felt even is it just no crowds now? I don't know. It's been boring.
Yeah, it's there's not just one, everybody's getting beat any given night. So it's not even really fun to just oh, I'm going to bet on this team. And, I think they're going to win. It's not even fun to bet on them because you can't.
Yeah, no, I've not done great in NBA other than the 3x2s. Shout out. Yeah. And then of course our of the weeks. If you've got some questions, comments, want to chat, go ahead and hop on there. What's up, Credence Wood? Good to have you in here. We're going to talk Tennessee baseball, but we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I think that's probably most people's topic of choice, though, on this Sunday night.
It's relevant.
It's relevant. It's exciting. Drop this in the chat, and Landon's going to tell you guys about a few people that make the show possible.
Yeah, so go check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. Also, our network, Volunteer Roadshow, do a great job of making the show possible, like Caleb mentioned. And here's a quick word from our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control.
Blue Water Climate Control. From heating and AC installation and repair, commercial or residential, when you choose Blue Water Climate Control, we offer solutions, not a sales pitch. Blue Water Climate Control. Veteran-owned, superior service.
Balls are back.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh, oh.
them orange.
Tennessee wins! Got it by Tennessee to one Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now.
I made up my mind. I don't expect to ever look back. I'm going to stay at the University of Tennessee.
Reddit did to do, and welcome into more important issues. It is Sunday, May 16th. Tennessee Vols are back like that. This weekend was, you just felt the electricity, man. Like, I was in Knoxville this weekend, didn't get to go to the games. That would have loved to, especially at 100% capacity. But man, you could feel it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great to be a part of. It was terrible for your blood pressure because every single game was so tight from the first pitch on Friday night to the final out on Sunday. It was just that tight all weekend, and we saw the Vitello and the Van Horn kind of had words after the series, and I think that's just two guys that have competed all weekend. Both teams competed all weekend. And it just kind of boiled over. It's like they weren't ready for it to end. It just had to keep going in some capacity like that.
Yeah, they definitely two, like you said, two competitors that just wanted to get the best of the other, and friends, and maybe going to be sworn enemies here soon. Apparently, earlier this week on another show, Vitello had mentioned that some behind the scenes stuff going on with Arkansas right now, like stuff that doesn't apply to the baseball field. So, and Vitello himself said that he pretty much said like it was about that. So, might be some friends turned enemies.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for it. I mean,
it made it fun, right?
Yeah, Ross Kivas says you respect Arkansas, but you don't fear them.
No,
they're a really good team. I know we're going to talk about it here in a second, but the difference is probably their bullpen. That was as you're talking what really beat them is that's what's kind of crazy about sport like baseball, where like it can be a one guy that does it, because today Tennessee made Arkansas give them everything they got. They had to go to the bullpen early. They made two additional changes after that. Like, Tennessee made Arkansas earn it. They didn't go out there with their Sunday starter and have a really strong outing and then get to bring out your best closer. Like, it wasn't an easy day for that coaching staff at all, for that bullpen. They made them earn it. Yes, their bullpen's deep and solid, but you definitely made them work for it. Yeah, absolutely. And Tennessee's done that all season long. If you're going to beat Tennessee, you're going to have to go beat them. They're not really going to beat themselves. They did have a couple errors this weekend, stuff that need to be cleaned up, but they weren't a huge issue in the outcome of the game.
Yeah, and
they could have been.
Well, and that the one error that I think did score a run, or just got a guy on second. It definitely got a guy on second. I can't remember if it scored a run. But that error too, Pavloni just tried to make a play and, threw it a little outside, and it's tough.
Yeah, and that run didn't end up scoring, which was huge. So, yeah, Tennessee just competed all weekend long, and it's hard to really be upset. You want to win every game, every series, but it was just a phenomenal atmosphere. Two teams that are going to go to the postseason, and two teams that could very well see each other in Hoover, or maybe even in Omaha at some point.
Yeah, I'm curious to kind of see how Hoover works out. It's weird, the last couple of years we've been talking about just get to Hoover and give yourself a fighting chance at the end of the season. Now you're like, Hoover's not important. If you don't win it, obviously you want to be there for the whole weekend, but you're in a regional. Like, you're probably hosting a regional, which but yeah, it's just it's funny how the circumstances of the SEC tournament have changed, and not just for baseball, for basketball too.
Yeah, so. And Tennessee proved that they're going to compete. They're going to play with anybody. the fact that they're at this point where they're playing the number one team in the country and making them play a full weekend series, full 9-inning game in that rubber match to actually get a win over them. I mean, that's far beyond what anybody thought Tennessee would do this year. I think they were picked to finish fourth in the East, and here we are sitting in first place in the East and right behind Arkansas for first place in the SEC.
Yep. And just kind of talking more about, just kind of going back to the game too, about how Arkansas today had to literally give Tennessee everything. I mean, literally gave them everything they got. In as far as, Friday night. Friday night. I mean, how many Sports Center plays did Arkansas make in the outfield?
Oh yeah.
You played a good baseball team.
Yeah, I mean they made a ton. They made some at shortstop with Battle. Christian Franklin in center field had one that it would have been 7-0 Tennessee at one point on Friday if he doesn't make that play in center field.
And I think along with just about everyone else was like, that's a run scored. When it went to that gap off the bat, you're like, scored a run there, and legitimately top 10. I don't know if it was. I don't watch top 10 anymore. I don't think you do much. It used to be my morning ritual, but now I just don't. But I mean, so he makes that. He had a couple just himself. Franklin out there in center field this weekend. That you're just it's one of those where you stand up and clap. Like, what else can you do?
Yeah, they're great defensively, and I think that's what Tennessee's try to mimic. With Vitello coming from Arkansas, you try to mimic, and you heard Kivett say that it's like that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing back at each other. Like these were two it was a slugfest. I mean, they were plays made. You saw Evan Russell freaking break 8 ribs today into the wall. Yeah, for a foul ball. That's just the type of players that are on this team and the type of players that Arkansas has as well. And that's what Vitello's looking for. I mean, he recruited some of those guys at Arkansas. So, just huge weekend for Tennessee baseball. This program is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I can't be mad about it. Like, yeah, you don't want to lose, but it's just one of those they got the best of us today, but but next time. I think that's what Evan Russell was yelling to him after during that altercation thing.
Yeah, and I got to give it to Evan Russell. We talked about it kind of with talking, joked about ejections on the show on Wednesday with Kivett, and he said, no, when you got something to say to someone, you face them. Evan Russell walked towards Arkansas when he was chirping. Arkansas was walking away. So, Hey, credit to Evan. I mean, he's the way he plays, he's fiery. And I'm glad you mentioned his catch too. Not to gloss over that when you talk about Arkansas being a really, really good baseball team. That's what made this weekend so much fun is that's not a fluke for Tennessee, making some of the plays they made. They do that just about every weekend. Now, yeah, some were all world plays. Jordan Beck's freaking throw home.
Baby.
I mean, from a long ways out, the only spot you can put it if you want to make that play, and he did it. Because if you don't believe me, was it Beck again that almost got made the same, an identical play?
It was Gilbert where
that time
they barely beat it at home.
Yeah. And that one, if it had to be in the perfect spot, and the base runner just did a really good job sliding in, but it wasn't in the right spot, and just a hair late. Some great. You had two really. That's what made it so fun. You had 100% fans, loud, shout out to Tennessee fans. It wasn't just the Vol Creatures this weekend. I called it. We had a guy with a goatee and mullet, with no shoes on, going nuts over behind the dugout. So
yeah, and there was a guy filming him with his shirt off. I'm like,
it was getting weird over
shirt off and cargo shorts, man. It was getting weird over there.
Hey, but that's what Tennessee needs weird. Tennessee, Knoxville, it's a weird place, and it's got weird people. We need to explore that, that thought for them. But yeah, just a
great. If you're not weird, it doesn't make the atmosphere different than anywhere else.
No, and just two great baseball teams, in my opinion. Not biased at all. The best fan base in college athletics. And that Lindsey Nelson's not some beautiful stadium. It's not big. Could you imagine if you had 10,000 people there?
And there probably would have been.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. If it was bigger, if you've got if you've got the seats, Tennessee fans will be there.
Yeah, I mean that famous line in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if the tequila was flowing in right field,
There you go.
that would have been a nutty afternoon.
Yeah, I got
Nutty.
a most important. I guess I can go ahead and mention that. But
Yeah.
if they had the bats, the bat cups like they did with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, did you see this?
No, wait, what?
They had Dollar Beer Day, putting it in these awesome beer. So it was like a full bat.
Oh,
Beer.
yes, I've seen those at baseball games. Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
For $1.
That's awesome and dangerous,
Yeah, absolutely dangerous.
and probably illegal. Like there's got to be a minimum on alcoholic beverages, right?
Yeah, maybe it's like one bat per person.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for the Tennessee's. Surely, like how can you mess it up? That's the thing is like you're not with the state of the program right now. You're not looking at it like we need to go get the right coach and the right coaching staff and the fan, like we got to figure out how to get fans here. Tony Vitello came in and just took over and said, this is how we're doing it. And we're going to get it fixed without the resources necessary. And he's done it. He's done it so well. You now have the fan support because Tennessee's not allocating the time and money towards baseball like they do football. And I'm not saying that he should, but it's just not the same kind of support. So all that's left for you to do is what you should have been doing all along and investing in the baseball program. And I say all along because Knoxville's got a really, really solid talent pool. Like just Knoxville. I'm not even talking about the rest of the state of Tennessee. And there's a lot of talent in Knoxville that, I think wasn't he from Nashville? Who was it? I had the roster pulled up. I've lost it, but yeah,
there's one kid, Colin Smith, maybe is from ETSU, and he's originally from Nashville.
Gotcha. So yeah, great example is there's plenty of talent here. So that's why I say that. But I think it's with the way this team's turning, it's been exciting. And what a way to start off Colin Smith. Yeah. With Friday night, just a great game. Tennessee obviously got out to a hot start. But with Arkansas, a lead isn't comfortable. A 5-inning lead in the first inning, didn't change anything for Arkansas. And
no lead is safe in this league. You saw that with Vanderbilt. I think Ole Miss had a 10-run. They were up by 8, but they had a 10-run third inning. Oh my
gosh!
And Vanderbilt came all the way back and almost.
Okay, so Ole Miss did win though.
Yeah, they almost. I think they lost by like 3 runs, but still, they came. They had a grand slam. There's so much talent in this league, and Kivett told us that it's a grown man's league, and that's for sure. Because even bottom of the 9th with a team like Arkansas, the bullpen that they have, and you think that lead is safe, but one swing in the bat can change things.
Yeah,
thank you, Max Ferguson.
that shot was awesome. But yeah, with no lead is safe. I thought so. I was because now Tennessee's still in first for the East. I didn't see the final yet. I hadn't seen the final yet, so you scared me. I thought Vanderbilt had came back. I guess they did come back. You're right, but I thought they had come back and won. So
yeah. Yep. So still sitting first place in the East. Mississippi State lost, so now we're in sole possession of that second spot in the SEC. I think the first 4 get a first round bye in the SEC tournament, so that's something Tennessee hasn't done in a really long time. So yeah, that's it's gonna be a lot of fun.
And they probably have to get swept next week to fall out of top 4, right?
Yeah, probably, and some teams have to win.
They could lose. Yeah, the right team doesn't win, but they could just lose 2 and fall out of at least second in the East.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously you want to be, you want to be top of this. If you're the top of the SEC, which they joked about it today. Is it Inzer? Rusty Inzer? does the broadcast with Bob Kessley on ESPN. But they were I can't remember who they were talking about specifically, but they're like he's one of the best in the country, and kind of stopped. He goes, one of the best in the conference, and Bob Kessler was like, I mean, he's probably the best in the country then, if that's the case.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
so it's like, and that's the same way with teams. It's obviously what they've done.
Was it Cobbs, their reliever?
No. It was. I don't think it was, because it was earlier in the game.
Christian Franklin.
I don't think it was a pitcher. I can't remember who they were talking about.
Because Franklin, he's probably going to be a first or second round draft pick. That's their center fielder.
Yeah, okay, so it might have been the center fielder. I'm really not sure. I know what Cops. I think it's too early in the game. What? But say something else about their roster, their team. I can't remember now. Oh, dude, that freaking reliever they brought in that looked 35 years old.
Oh yeah,
I want to see his birth certificate. Is he 12?
He's, I mean,
and he's big too. He doesn't just look like the face
with a $20 bill in it. Yeah, Vermillion, yeah. He's
6'4", 230. Holy crap, he looks nothing. He looks like a man child. He looks like the guy from Remember the Titans, Ethan Suplee, like from Remember the Titans, without a beard. Holy crap! I mean, that is a completely different person.
Beard's at age.
Beard's at a lot. I mean, yeah, I know that for a fact. I didn't think it'd add that much. I mean, because this guy I thought was just a grown man with a beard, not a beard.
Yeah, he looked like the human version of Groot.
But yeah, like grown man league. A lot of, I don't even know, a lot of good baseball. It's just not. I think it's and I'm not even a big baseball person. Really, just a big Tennessee Volunteers person. But it's it's exciting to have a team that you've never really, you've never cheered hard for. Like it's almost like I have a new team that I get to be excited about. Just because we don't. When I was growing up, we didn't go to any games for baseball because it was a big game. We went, if we had nothing to do on a Tuesday night or
there was some
promotion.
Like it was a casual kind of fan. Yeah,
and exactly, very very casual. And then went to some. When Kara's brother was playing, went to more. And then in that case, we did go to big games too, but not, again, it was just very, very casual. Probably wouldn't have been going at that point if, didn't have someone to watch. But yeah, it feels like a new team. So it's been a lot of fun to follow. And this weekend, it was cool, like during the day, going into bars and them having Tennessee baseball on. But yeah, so it's been fun to be involved, and somehow like really not as stressful as like basketball or football.
And had the moments too of stuff that you're gonna remember forever. Is like that Max Ferguson hit. I'm not gonna sit here and rank all the wins that Vitello has, but it's got to be top one or two of biggest wins in his tenure at Tennessee so far. And you did it with a three-run Jimmy, as Frank Anderson called it.
Yeah, and also who I don't know who the pitcher was at that moment. He knew it when they left the bat. I don't even think he looked. He was that's it.
Yeah, it was weird because like it was high.
It was so high.
So you're like, okay, when's it gonna stop? And it just kept on, and even the right fielder is just like kind of going back toward the walls, like, okay, this might be a pop fly, and he's just like, crap, I'm at the wall. It's still going.
It was an absolute bomb.
Yeah.
Bomb. But did Frank Anderson say that yesterday about the
three-run Jimmy?
No, he's I don't know if he was like quoting himself or what. I don't know what he was doing, where he was like, I just told him to hit it over the fence, or what was the quote?
Like the effing fence. I think Vitello said, he's like, what should we do? Well, I think they all kind of came up to Max Ferguson and were talking to him, like Elander, Kivett, Anderson, Vitello, like they're all like come up to him and were talking to him, and Vitello said it was up to him to bunt or to hit a home run. Or
to hit. He looked like he might have been looking to bunt there for a minute.
Yeah, and then he's like, Frank, what do you think? He was like, I want a three-run Jimmy. He's like, hit it over the effing fence.
That's all. I love that, and I'm glad. Let's go back to that homer. We could probably talk an hour about it, but so if you want to, like, I'm open. We had Kiv on, and he was talking about, and we've talked about how this team, their ability to stay in at bats for lengthy amounts of time. Getting into those bullpens. And then Kivett mentioned, an additional, like the guy on deck just saw before the home run, Ferguson saw 8 pitches.
Yeah.
And so, just a great, he did end up getting on a walk, but just a great at bat, and gave you, it helps. It helps when you see those 8 pitches come in before you got to swing. And it's what a lot of guys might not be going after that first pitch if they didn't just see 8.
You're getting that timing down on deck.
You get to be aggressive.
Yep, you're seeing how it comes out of his hand. So yeah, you're basically studying up there.
Yeah.
In real time. So yeah, that first pitch, he knew it was coming, 97 right down the pipe, and he might close his eyes, but if you know where it's coming and you know how fast it's coming, you saw those 8 pitches. That's all you got to do is put the barrel on it, and it's going to take itself.
Yeah, so I thought that was awesome that on Wednesday, Kid was talking about that, and then you get literally that example of a guy coming up to hit a walk-off home run.
And he also talked about who's going to be the guy that's going to have the big hit. What a moment for Max Ferguson, a guy who hasn't had the season that he'd love to have, because he was coming in as a top 100 prospect and a preseason All-American, and now he's finding his own toward the end of the season, and for him to be in that position to already hit a home run previously in the game and then come up again and just be the hero, with the bat flip, and he did the same thing against Missouri. It wasn't a walk-off, but he put Tennessee up with a huge home run against them that hit the indoor practice facility.
Yeah, that was a massive bomb as well. He's not short on distance there. And you mentioned again too, like who's going to be that guy. We asked Kivett, what's going to, what is this team lacking? What are they missing? What gets them to Omaha, playing in Omaha for a long week? And he was like, who's going to be that guy when we've got a one on, 2 outs, and we need it here? Weren't you just like clinging to that moment, like 3 guys who really had a good, you liked your chances. Like, who's going to be that guy in this moment? Like, that's the step they need. And it was unfortunate. A couple of good shots at it. But
even today, you get the go-ahead run at the plate in the 9th. Down 2 runs, you get a run back with who I think Pavoloni got a hit. And then you have your best hitter, Liam Spence, comes to bat with 2 outs and is the go-ahead run. So, that it was kind of setting up for that moment. He pops out to the right fielder, but if he gets a little bit more of that baseball, it could be over his head, and we could be talking about a tie game going into extras. We could still be at Lindsey Nelson right now.
Yeah. Do they have is college baseball doing the stupid MLB thing where they put a runner on second in extras?
No,
good. It was Lipsius that ended up scoring. He had moved through some walks and then got a third. But yeah, golly, I thought I was clinging to that moment. It would have been. What a freaking win that would have been. It would have been. I think Lindsey Nelson might have gotten like torn down. It can't be built super sturdy, right?
Yeah, probably not. Especially when you're hoping that you're going to get some upgrades here soon. You're probably not taking care of it. You're not getting those reinforcements. So yeah, all the little cracks and stuff in it probably aren't getting filled. So yeah, it probably would come down if they were to do that a second time in a row.
Hey, how did the checker look in person? Gotta ask.
It was cool.
Just a little underwhelming. Like there was no good. I didn't see any good like camera shots. I didn't see any pictures from somebody, or ESPN obviously didn't give you a lot of great shots. I couldn't really tell. But it's just hard to make anything like in a small place like that.
I think cool. Being small is kind of hard to do that. It would be like if just the bottom bowl did it. Like what makes it so cool in Neyland is like every part of it.
It's perfect.
It's different.
It's perfect. Like that's
it's hard to do it in that. But if you were to have a stadium that kind of goes all the way around, I think it'd be really cool. Yeah,
it would look awesome.
It was. I thought it was fine.
I like that. Fine's good. Again, just that adds into that atmosphere that was built, and just what Tennessee fans brought to that brought to that stadium. And I guess is the NCAA gonna not allow them to 100% capacity? Do they have rules about that?
Yeah,
like when they host the regional.
Apparently, it's at 50% right now, and that's still going to be.
That's going to suck to go backwards.
Yeah, but that's unfortunate.
See what
I hope they fix that because, like, I mean that goes like, the atmosphere that you saw is like you said, it's a step back from what you've had.
Well, and I think they need to do it even if it's at 100% capacity for the regional. They need to do. I think softball's made it permanent now, but used to when they would host super regionals or regionals, they would bring in grandstands in right field at softball. I guess that's where you'd have to do it for baseball too. But they need to figure out how to bring in some at least temporary grandstands for the regional game.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So, especially if it's 50% capacity, so then you can get more people there, even though it's spread out.
Yeah, I would like to see them put down the left field line where those little umbrellas and stuff are right there, behind it, where it's just like a parking lot.
Yeah, it's just parking lot right now. There's really nothing behind. You could, I don't know the logistics that go into that. I would think it would be feasible.
Right.
But they got to figure out a way. Hopefully the NCAA lifts that because a lot of states are going, you saw, who did Arkansas play last week? LSU? Ole Miss, those at 100% capacity. Mississippi State is. I think LSU is.
Georgia. They played Georgia.
Was it Georgia? So Georgia's back at 100% capacity. Whoever they had played on last weekend. So yeah, it would be great to see that too. I'm glad I jumped around to talking about other SEC teams. Tennessee talked about this season. You've only lost 2 SEC series.
Yeah,
both to number 1 and number 2 in the nation at the time.
Right, and somebody commented today. They're like, "Yeah, I love these Vols, but they can't win the big one." I'm like, dude.
And they didn't get swept, so they did win the big one.
They won
one of those games.
Right. Yeah, I'd rather them win in postseason play than I would in the regular season.
For sure. So see what it brings, but it's I think it would be much easier to be disappointed in this weekend if they had gotten swept. Like you're going, you just, in my opinion, like where this program's at, where it needs to be going. I think this weekend you were just looking to get the best of Arkansas one day.
Yeah,
just get them on one day. I think the thing that's almost like it stings a little bit is you led all 3 days. First off,
yeah, you jumped on them all 3 days.
Yeah, and then so obviously, anytime you lead, you want to keep. Anytime you have a lead, you want to keep the lead. So that's frustrating. It stings a little bit. And then today, you saw what Arkansas. Mentioned it earlier. Gave Tennessee everything they had to win today, and so you're just like, man, you made them work their tails off to get that, and you just couldn't. They ended up getting it. But that's the relieving part is they gave you everything they got, not just today, but the entire weekend. And that makes it sting. And I want to ask this question. I know we're gonna, we're at least gonna get Kiv on before regional. Hopefully, sit down with Tony as well. And I want to ask how before you get into postseason, because it sucks. Only one team in the country gets to end their season on a win. Yeah. So unless you just don't play any postseason, then you might get to. But only one team gets to end their season on a win that matters. Mm-hmm. And other than that, you're losing. So if we're just how do you you looking back at the season before it's over? How do you grade what you've done, where you're at, and what goals did you set that you met, those kind of things? Because if we're gonna pretend every team their lives cling on how the championship game, that's just not the case. Teams just don't have that. So how do you grade it? Because obviously you're gonna be upset after the last loss. So I'm just curious. Obviously a very successful season, but how do you grade it? That kind of thing. I'd like to hear that output before you're a little upset.
Yeah, and I don't know about the coaches, but just looking what this team had before Vitello took over to where they are now.
Yeah,
and we've kind of kept up with them since before Vitello was here. So if you're looking at that, if you're not just looking at this season, and that guy was just they can't win the big one. But when you look at where they were at from a talent standpoint, from a competitive standpoint in the SEC, Tennessee should not be in this point. A rebuild takes a lot longer from where they're at to now. I mean, you look at the football program, like it's in constant rebuild. Hopefully they find the right guy and they're able to get back to that point. But like in 4 years, like I don't expect Tennessee football to be in the top 5 in 4 years.
Right.
But
So
like Vitello's like gotten us to this point. So I mean, losing to number 1 Arkansas, number 2 Vandy, teams that have been up to this point for a while.
Yeah, and
like it's nothing to hang your head about.
Right. Obviously, LSU, is not having a great season, but in terms of programs and like what they have over there, the expectations, you did take it to LSU, like that.
And Florida too. You probably should have got the sweep over Florida. They hit a late home run on Sunday to win, the Sunday game. But yeah, you had them under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as where this program's at, obviously you're really, really pleased. And that's why, I like to hear that kind of your answer in terms of how your season's gone up to this point, because every team, only one team gets to end on a win, and that's it. And obviously, you want to win a championship, so you're going to be upset about it. No matter how good your season was, that your first reaction is just like today. I mean, we lost. Like, that sucks. We want to win. Even though you had all this great stuff that happened all weekend, it happened today. Like, at the end of the day, you want to win. You probably, your team got better today. You probably played, better, probably some of your best baseball. But at the end of the day, you want to win.
Yeah, I mean, you took a team to Sunday in the 9th, all weekend long. That
great rubber match
will probably be in Omaha at the end of the year.
Right. Yep. Great rubber match. I wanted to use that term because I feel like it's been used more this year than I've ever seen it used in my entire life.
Also, what about a freshman being?
Dude, oh my God, we haven't talked about that.
100% capacity, number 1 team in the country, rubber match. Blade Tidwell just freaking shoved it today.
Hey, he played so good, and I was curious. At that point, you're not bringing that guy off, even though he's thrown a lot of pitches. That inning that they got the best of him there, and he got up to the high 80s, maybe even low 90 pitch count. Dude, he was. But he was just bringing it. And I don't know if Kiv mentioned him as being a psychopath. He looked like a psychopath on the mound. I paid attention to that. Like, I was just watching how he reacted to every single pitch. He looked like a psychopath on the mound.
The kid's a big leaguer. I mean, that's just what he's going to be, and he's going to terrorize this league for another 2 years. After this one, he's really brought it his last couple outings. And to only give up 2 hits, you give up 2 runs, but it was 1 run, and he gave up a walk that, the next guy that Hundley faced after he came out of the game hit a double. So it goes against him, and so he gets the loss. But man, like, what a freaking performance from a freshman in that moment. Like, we were talking about moments with Max Ferguson. For him to show up the way he did today, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks, 2 hits, 2 runs, 7 innings pitched, 103 pitch count. I mean, you can't ask for a better outing from your Sunday starter like Blade Tidwell gave you today.
No, for sure. And and I think, he's played good all season. On he's pitched every Sunday, just about, if not every Sunday. But I feel like today was probably his best performance. I don't know if statistics say that, but just the guys he faced, and the way he handled it, even when things kind of started to get away from him a little bit. They, like you mentioned, the 2 runs go against him, but he didn't really let, even when I guess the chips fell, not in his favor. I thought he just played really, really well. So I thought, from just a visual standpoint, I thought that was his best outing. I, again, don't know if the stats say that.
Yeah, it was a career high in strikeouts, so I guess the stats do say it too.
Yeah, they do. What did he end up with? 8?
8, yep.
8, yeah.
So almost got the case for queso by himself.
And I think, too, he didn't have any in the first 2 innings, maybe the first 3 innings. So all 8 of those came in the last in the back of it. I don't know how to say that, but you get later.
Pitching in the 7th inning and still throwing 95 miles an hour, like, that's ridiculous.
That's what's crazy. His velocity was so high for the entire game.
Yeah, again,
Well,
going back
the entire
to,
time he was in.
he's a big leaguer. Like he's
Yeah.
going to be a high draft pick, 100%.
Yeah. Psychopath. I loved it.
So
That's all I'm going to be able to like really focus on when Tennessee plays now is looking for the guys who have those psycho eyes.
yeah, I mean, what kind of coach like actually like says that about a player? Like, oh yeah, he's a psychopath.
That's why I love. Well, but he was like, I think they would love it if I said that to him.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, that's
that's
why everyone loves this team because like they want to be psychopaths.
Yeah,
Like Evan Russell coming in chirping like a psychopath, like just they love it. They're psychos.
yeah. Dude, I was watching Drew Gilbert today, and like he is like every movement he'll hits a hard ground ball, and it doesn't get through. He's thrown out. I mean, the dude's running back to the dugout.
Yeah,
like everybody just kind of maybe lightly jogs or walks back to the dugout. No, he's like in a hurry to get back to the dugout. Like he's that intense about everything he does. So, yeah, psychopath.
Loved it. Tennessee Psychopaths is actually gonna be their new name. And we talked too about. I guess we can mention some just like talking about this game being on SEC Network Plus whatever. It wasn't on TV, and Kiv mentioned this about how they love the emotion their guys play with. Like this should be like you should be passionate out there. Like you shouldn't. Like he loves the celebratory stuff. What in my opinion is making college like everyone love college baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how flexible TV stations and stuff like that is, but they got to get more flexible.
Right.
I mean, like if this was predetermined way back, I mean, Tennessee and Arkansas were both picked.
Yeah,
finished fourth in their division. So
that's the thing; they should have been on anyways. Like
right.
it really, yeah. It's like like Saturday during the day. I got to think there was nothing else on at 1.
So Saturday was on TV.
Was it? Okay, so I think that's why it played. We talked about why it was during the day and not at night. Okay, so Saturday was on TV. That makes sense why every bar had it. Seriously, just about every bar had the game on.
I think it was awesome. On SEC Network. So yeah, it's so dumb to me. Like you have one game.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point in playing a series if one game is like televised?
Yeah, and I think too, with like I said, the popularity of baseball. I think next year ESPN, I hope, is going to evaluate their college baseball coverage because I think that's the next kind of avenue that's like it's almost untouched. Like they don't even have an agreed upon like official college baseball ranking.
No.
So I'm curious to see if they pick up that coverage because I think obviously if you have Saturday night college baseball games, people are tuning in because it's not about where the better baseball is. College football is just as popular, if not more popular, especially in some parts of the country, than NFL football. It's not because the teams are better. Like if you go watch an MLB game, go watch one tonight, you're going to see better plays in that 9-inning game than you're probably going to see on a college baseball. Like that's just because you have better athletes, right. Or not. I mean, yes, better athletes, but also more experience. Like, so it's not that the product's just better, or like the talent's better. It's the product as a whole. You're getting the bat flips, the crotch grabs, the chirping, mixed with good baseball, and people are eating it up.
The sound that the bat makes when it hits the ball.
See, I'm a wooden bat. I love the crack of a bat.
Oh,
I think that sounds infinitely better.
I like the ping.
See,
now it used to be more of a ping. Now it's kind of almost
like a thud
wood,
now.
Yeah, like a wood bat because the freaking BB core just
took
all the fun out of everything.
See, I think ping almost sounds Little League World Series to me.
Yeah,
like it sounds like a summer in July, sitting at home with nothing on TV, so that's playing. So I'm a wooden bat guy.
I forget who. Maybe Kentucky had like bats that were pinging. Like it wasn't thudding, it was pinging. I was just like,
did we check it?
I don't know if it was a BB core. I mean, if Kentucky would end up winning that series, I think you gotta at least check them, see what's happening in those bats.
Kentucky had a pretty good weekend this weekend, right? See who I thought I saw them getting the better of somebody on Saturday.
No,
South Carolina.
They got
swept.
Yeah,
I thought they led Saturday. I'll have to go back and look, but they didn't even score. So maybe it was today. They were up today at one point. So I'm pretty sure. No, they weren't. I'm a liar. I swore they were.
Yeah, just looking at the SEC standings, I mean, you have to, if knock on wood, but if South Carolina were to somehow get a sweep, I think you could maybe end up fourth in the East.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go exactly. You got to go out and win this day. I'm glad you mentioned the standings. Kind of talk about that a little bit as we get into postseason play. I know that came early, but while we're here, Tennessee, like you mentioned, it goes back into this being a grown man league. If you want a first round bye, and you do, you got to win this weekend. This one's just as important as the rest of them.
Yeah, we did have a question before we get off from Tennessee baseball. We did have a question.
First off, we're never going to be done with Tennessee baseball, Landon. So
that's true.
Just drop that crap. We're going to circle back to Tennessee baseball the entire show. Let's be honest.
So Dub himself says, "Do you think benching Durkee and putting Booker at the plate was the right move?" ?
I mean, okay. First off, hindsight's 2020. No, it was the wrong move. I'm just kidding, but obviously it didn't work out the way.
Yeah, it didn't work out. I think Booker is going to be a phenomenal player, and the fact that he got that call in that moment tells you probably a lot about his development so far this season.
Well, and they made the same move on Friday or Saturday. So Saturday, and he had the double.
Mm-hmm.
So he had done it. Like I think you were like, I mean, you got to give that guy a try after what he did literally yesterday. In my opinion,
I think it was Friday.
Is it Friday? So like that, in my opinion, like. Yeah, I think it was the right move. Like with everything you knew at the time, you knew he stepped in and I think it was pretty identical moments when they had him come in and pinch hit.
Yeah, I mean he's a guy that he's a big bat. Like he can Duke can swing it. Nothing against Durkee. I think he's kind of an unsung hero of this team. He's just kind of been that and not to Evan Russell's level, but he's kind of been that guy that they've recruited. They've recruited other guys to play that position, but they just always seem to be comfortable with Evan Russell with a beat Durkee, things like that. Durkee just keeps on. He produces. He's a hard out to get. The home runs, and he doesn't have a ton of RBIs, but the guy finds a way to get on base. And when you're able to get on base at such a high rate, it's hard for, to put somebody else in. So, am I going to say it's the wrong decision? No, because I don't know what these guys look like outside of the games they play. So, they're going to have more trust and, more confidence in those players, and that's their call to make.
Yeah, and I think in terms when you just I mean, but it's
when you're winning that many games, every decision that you make is. I mean, that's your decision. How am I going to judge you when you're the number 4 team in the country?
Right. But I think, too, it's just again, hindsight's 2020. Obviously, you watched, where he wasn't able to make that play on, today. But he's done it before. I mean, it's hard to I think there's a lot of when you grade how you thought coaches made decisions that day. There's a lot of ones you're like, man, that's just a really stupid decision. And then you have some where you're like, could you have made a better one? Maybe. But I think with everything you knew, that's what you do. This isn't a Butch Jones not going for 2 situation.
Right. I mean, the best batters in baseball are, they're hitting 300, something like this, 300, something like that. So that, 3 out of 10 times you're getting a hit. I mean, he didn't get a hit today. So, that was, the other 7, he just didn't, he struck out. You got to put it in play. And that's probably something that they'll, relay to him. Hey, when we put you in this moment, you got to put the ball in play. You can't strike out. But I mean, I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. And you had one freshman freaking shove it against the number 1 team in the country. Hey, let's try another freshman to see if he can,
Let's see if these new guys can cut it for a while. Yeah, that.
And getting him that experience is going to be huge for his development down the road too. So maybe it's not just hey, we're trying to get this win today. Maybe it's a long-term decision there.
I Might have been part of it. Hopefully, you just went all for the win, though.
Right. But like, there's more to it than just.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a guy that you're like, and I think too with Durkee. I mean, it doesn't seem like. I mean, he's had a good season. It doesn't seem like they've had to worry about his confidence and like anything like that. So
Yeah, he's batting like 250 something. Like it's not like he's batting like .05.
Yeah, and you're like trying to bring him back or something. Like that's not the situation. So
right.
I thought I think most ball fans, see that move happen, and I think everyone's ears perked up a little bit, and got the people on their feet, edge of their seat. Like I think everyone expected big stuff too. So it's just didn't make it this time. You also faced one of the best pitchers in the country. So it is what it is. It's one of those you stand up and you tell the dude good play and you step
tip your hat.
So I do want to talk more and see if you have anything else about the SEC standings since next week is the last SEC series before the end of the season. We do have a question. What about the spat between – we talked about it a little bit. What about the spat between Vitello and Van Horn there at the end? If you missed it, because I think everyone missed how it started initially. Apparently they did go over to shake hands. And then maybe a couple words were exchanged. Some of your mothers. I don't know what was said. But it ended up almost being a outfield clearing brawl because they were all in the outfield to get final words when this took place. So
yeah, and then Vitello and Van Horn came together after they had huddled up with their players and talked it out, I guess.
I think it was a little more civil, but it doesn't look like that either of them walked away.
They didn't hug or anything.
No,
like
I
that,
don't. So they talked, I think, to settle some things. I don't think they talked to apologize.
No.
Judging by the way the convo went.
Yeah, and just knowing those two guys, it doesn't look like they apologize for hardly anything that they do.
Right.
So
pretty fiery dudes.
Yeah,
I do love kind of like both of their answers. You can tell they worked together, at some point. Both very, very similar answers they gave. Vitello actually taking the blame. We don't know what was actually said, but taking the blame for it because he said he shouldn't have said the off the field issues in that moment that they were dealing with. And but kind of along the same lines was like, I'm going to leave what was said there. He told us good game, and other than that, like.
Yeah, I mean, and Vitello gave Arkansas props, and Van Horn did the same thing. He was just like, they're a good baseball team. They deserve everything that they're getting up to this point.
Yeah.
So.
And Van Horn even mentioned in that he glossed over this, so I couldn't tell if it was a joke or if he was serious. He said they didn't have any hot water in the locker room after the game. So
yeah, maybe turn it off.
I don't know if it got turned off or maybe those guys in Arkansas are. They look like they might be some needy guys, maybe taking long showers. It might not be Tennessee's fault at all.
Yeah, I mean, when they were sweating it out, so they needed they needed a bunch of hot showers after the fact, and we're getting upgrades soon, hopefully. So maybe we're upgrading that hot water heater.
I think just on the home side, you can leave it like it is on the visitors visitors side. I'm a fan of the. I can't remember. Someone mentioned a college baseball team does this, or Alabama used to. I don't know if they still do. The visiting locker rooms, pink. I'm a big fan of those mental games that you play with the visitor team. In the 90s, teams when they came to Knoxville, they were already dreading the post shower or the post game shower because they knew it was going to be cold water. I love it. But play mental games with them. I love how just absolutely shitty everything about the visitor locker room is.
Dude, but I do want to like after like you're sweating and you go get in the shower, it's cold. It sucks in the moment, but after the fact, after you're done with it, you're like, man, that felt pretty good.
Yeah, honestly, cold showers aren't like after something like that aren't terrible, but
if it's a cold game, I mean,
you don't even shower.
You're giving guys pneumonia.
I'm not showering, first off. But no, I love that. Like, that's just so, like, in my opinion, that's why you love, like, college sports like that. Like, it's petty. It's hilarious.
It's the product.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see that a lot with NFL.
And I think everyone's going to, like, nice, you want to be a good host. You want to be an accommodating host or whatever.
Right.
I think, you want to be accommodating to the extent where it's like, once we walk off the field, we're, good game. Be safe on the trip home. But I love that. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it makes Tennessee trashy. I love the fact that, like, people would admit, like, I dreaded Knoxville because of the cold showers. Like they weren't like, I didn't, the crowd wasn't tough, like that kind of thing. Like they're like,
And the locker room as a
cold
whole
showers.
is not great.
Oh, it's like it's one of the more disgusting locker rooms I've ever been in, and I've been in some nasty locker rooms in my life.
Yeah, it's not fun.
And I don't even mean like nasty, like the people in there existing are nasty. Like I've been in those. I mean the ones that you're walking in and you're like, you don't want to set your stuff down. You don't even want to use the bathroom.
Am I at a high school locker room?
I think a couple of us when we use that locker room, we're sitting on broken chairs, like just weird stuff that I'm like, this is nasty. Yeah. It's awesome. And like knowing now what this is really like this is hilarious. But like the tunnel even to like get in and out of the stadium for the visitors is just grimy and nasty.
Yeah,
I love
like
it.
You're going to stay in a nice hotel. When you get to the stadium, you're not going to have a great time.
Yeah, you better live it up at the airport hotel.
Yeah, the Hilton or whatever they stay at.
So I'm excited for Tennessee's upgrades, but keep the visitor locker room over in Lindsey Nelson. Keep it grungy. Yeah,
going back to the spat, I don't think it's really anything. I think it's just two guys, competing all weekend, and it just kind of boiled over to they weren't done. They wanted more.
Yeah, it's I'm curious to see if anything kind of comes out of it because to me it sounds recruiting involved. So.
Yeah,
curious to see like if
and I think Van Horn said, he was like, recruiting. This and like he's like, I don't really know what it was.
It was a weird quote because he said recruiting and then he named one other thing and then said and everything else, or like all of it. So he was like, choose between those three. I was like, well, you said all of it, so it was obviously that one. That covers a lot. It's just a funny quote. Yeah, he. That was the first thing he was asked, actually. He wasn't even asked about the rubber match. Was not the first question. He didn't. Apparently, they didn't even want to talk about the game at Arkansas. So,
yeah, I mean, you got to have something cool to write about.
Yeah, and dude, going back to how they need to invest in the baseball program. It sucks to hear Arkansas fans get the pleasure of saying your stadium's terrible, like comparatively speaking to theirs, because they're right.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And it just sucks. I'll argue with them, but they're right about the stadium. Yeah. Your stadium's – I mean, you are in Little Rock, Arkansas. No one wants to be there. So – they're Fayetteville.
Fayetteville, yeah. Fayetteville. Yeah, I mean, potato.
Exactly. Arkansas is Arkansas. It sucks.
I love that there's people over in our section, like, we're on them all weekend about Walmart. Like, they just, like – apparently, like they're saying their mom works at Walmart. They said that they get their jerseys at Walmart, like their haircuts from Walmart. Like they get everything they own from Walmart.
I love that. It's a great one. One of I don't know which Arkansas player it was. I'm going to assume it had to be like a first baseman or something. He gave credit to the Vol Creatures.
Yeah, Slavens did. Yep.
Slavens. Yep. Okay. So yeah, got a little shout out to the Arkansas fans or players appreciated the Tennessee fans what they.
Yeah, there was another guy. His it was their first base coach. His last name was Werns, Wernes. Oh, they called him Wiener the entire weekend.
So it wasn't as clean as normal, huh?
No. I mean, I
guess that's you could.
It is funny because it's like 50-year-old men just calling this guy Wiener, and like him and the third base coach like stood next to each other, and they're just like, Thompson loves Wiener, and it's just it's fun, all in fun.
Yeah, all in fun. Exactly. It's great stuff. Okay, so anything else about the SEC standings? Anything like that? And then, sorry, go ahead.
That's kind of all. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with, the teams who don't make it to Hoover, the last two teams, because you have Texas A&M and Auburn. I think Auburn won that series this weekend against Texas A&M, but they're both 8-19. Missouri 7-20, and then Kentucky and LSU have kind of separated themselves from those teams. But it's going to be interesting to see who gets that last spot with those three teams kind of at the bottom. Missouri gets a huge, much-needed win over Mississippi State this weekend. I don't know how, but they did. And going back to that guy who says Tennessee can't win the big one, I mean, when you have a Missouri team that's able to knock off the number 3 team in the country,
Yeah, and you
and
weren't
when, yeah, and you beat them pretty handily.
right.
So I think LSU could be considered a big one. Florida, they're ranked number 9. They have to be considered a big one. You got Georgia.
Right.
If you're able to get the win over South Carolina, Kentucky, all these teams, every team in this league should be in a regional. Like they have the talent to be in a regional. It's just the fact that they're all in the same conference.
You're beating up on each other.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned Missouri in terms of just how you played last weekend too. I think that is a great example of this team. I can't remember who was asked this question, but about where they're going to finish. Vanderbilt, that was down at that point. Where they may finish in the SEC. And he's like, we're just going to. I think it was Liam Spence. We're just going to take care of business and everything else will see how it works out. But we got to do. Like that's the approach you have to have because you got to go out and win. Potentially you got to at least win one. Maybe even, to stay in first, you probably got to win all 3 next weekend. So, you just got to take care of business day by day. Can't win all 3 if you don't win the first one. So definitely take care of business. And I think Missouri they will not make it to the postseason. They're 4 games back. So they're done after next weekend. Missouri. I think Kentucky has 11 wins. Let me pull it back up. Missouri has 7.
It's just in the SEC, so the bottom 2 in the SEC don't go to Hoover.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it wasn't done. Okay, so yeah, they have a chance to go back. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
They'll probably have to take care of business. I don't know who.
That's weird that they do 2 and don't do one from each conference.
Yeah,
Division. Excuse me. Yeah,
they play Auburn. So I mean, if they go and beat Auburn, there it is. They could be in.
Yeah, assuming A&M doesn't.
Yeah, just
they've got Arkansas, right?
Do they?
I can't remember. So if it is that, that's even better for Missouri.
They have LSU. And LSU's fighting to get a regional, so that's a tough team right now too.
Right. Gonna be a fun day fun weekend again for SEC baseball as far as seeing where all these teams play. Arkansas plays Florida. So they've got a pretty tough test ahead of them next weekend as well. Speaking of those regional sites, let's talk a little bit about that. Tennessee gets finalist for regions. They're pretty much guaranteed to host, right?
Yeah,
I know it's a weird year.
At this point, you didn't get swept by Arkansas. I think if you lost 6 straight, you could be one of those final teams in. But yeah, I think Tennessee was going to host regardless. They announced the 20 potential sites.
Is it 16?
And they'll go down to 16 on Selection Monday. So that'll be next Monday.
Did they just leave 4 in to still have a Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's kind of maybe they have a couple bubble teams that could play their way in and stuff like that. So they did 20. I think LSU is definitely one of those teams.
Right.
I thought they were in there. Maybe they're not. No, LSU is not a potential host site.
They're not. I'll pull up.
They're trying to get in a regional, not a host. Sorry.
Right.
South Carolina, they're probably playing for one. Yeah, the SEC teams are Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. So you have quite a bit of those SEC teams in there that will probably host. That Ole Miss beating
Vandy today was huge for Tennessee as far as just where they kind of fall in the last couple.
Yeah, and good for Ole Miss too, because they're going to lock down a regional because of that.
Yeah, some interesting places on here.
Charlotte. Tennessee
Charlotte's on there.
Lost to Charlotte earlier this year. In the midweek game.
Pitt's on there. I haven't looked at what Pitt's doing. Just some places you would not think would be
Gonzaga.
In the final 20. Gonzaga's on there. Arizona. That's
Southern Miss.
So yeah, that's a good little group. I guess they just did 20. I don't know who the I guess there you mentioned Ole Miss was kind of a bubble team, at least before this weekend. So it looks like they may get there. But yeah, I honestly, who do you think the last four are? Do you have the pulled up?
Yeah, I have like the 20 pulled up. I
You
think
don't have records just going. Just so I mean, I know you don't have all their records in front of you, so that's probably hard.
I mean,
you don't
I
know who
think
they
it's
play
like,
next Sunday or next weekend.
like Gonzaga, Charlotte, Southern. Like, not all those mid-major schools are going to host a regional.
Right.
They're going to have to play themselves into that. South Carolina is probably going to have to play themselves into it. They're going to have to have a good series against Tennessee. So that's going to be interesting to see. I think Louisiana Tech. I think they're really good. I think Charlotte's really good. I don't know much about East Carolina and Southern Miss, but I think Texas will be there. TCU, I think, has lost, I think, the last 3 series. So, they could be on the out. And at one point, they were ranked number 3.
Right.
So that they could find themselves, if they don't do something, with this last weekend, they could be on the outside looking in as far as a host site. But, yeah, I think all the rest of those SEC teams are probably safe.
Okay, and let me ask you this too. I'm looking at the article I've got pulled up, but I don't see anything. I didn't read the whole thing, but scanning it. How are they going to determine super regional host sites? Is it going to be?
It's the top 8
of those. It's just the top 8. It's okay.
Yeah. So
what if they don't?
If they don't
weren't
make it?
What if they weren't a host site for the regional? Would they still get to host super regional? How are they doing? I just didn't know they were doing it different. Because of the same reason they're selecting regionals different, so I didn't know how that worked.
So I think the way it goes is they're predetermined.
Yeah.
So even if that team does not make it, I think they still have it at that place.
With the regional?
With the super regional.
So when are they? That's my question. It's predetermined by the last. Okay, gotcha.
The top 8 seeds in the regional.
Yeah, I thought you meant the top 8 seeds in the regional, but it's determined then. It's not.
So if Tennessee was the number 8 seed, they would host a super regional. They're going to host that super regional, but
awesome. Okay.
Definitely.
They don't necessarily. Yeah, you don't know if you'll be there yet or not. Okay,
right.
I didn't know. Gotcha. So that makes sense now. How they do that. So Tennessee's got a really good shot at hosting a super regional then.
Yeah. So when was this? I don't know if this was written. This is 4 days ago. So Baseball America had it projected. And Tennessee was 8th, which that'll probably change. I would think they'd move up because TCU is ranked number 2, and that's not right.
Yeah, and they've got Vanderbilt or Tennessee and D1Baseball.com they're number 4 this week. They won a game at Arkansas. I got to think they're not going to move much, if any. Depending on what everyone around them did, but
so the last 4 seeds in this would be Stanford, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Louisiana Tech.
Gotcha.
But Ole Miss was projected as a 2 seed, so they're probably going to host now. So they probably knocked one of those teams out. It's going to be interesting to see because this weekend, like it's not just like what we thought they were just going to go ahead and do it. But they're able to put 20 to make teams, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Make it worth it, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That obviously you don't want the like predetermined thing on there, but all in all, like they are gonna just they're giving it to just about every single team that's would host in a normal year, and then they've got it set up to where a team that. I started thinking about that more. That is what's funny is like you can almost this late in the season, when they released it this last week, you can almost you're going to miss 1, maybe 2 every year if you did it that way. But if you'd predetermined the sites, you would have been able to just about get every single team that you would normally do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
D1 Baseball had another one, and they have Tennessee as a 6 seed. The last 4 seeds in this is East Carolina, Louisiana Tech, Pittsburgh, and Florida State.
Nice. Okay, so I'm just looking at it from a Tennessee perspective in terms of Tennessee. You go. I mean, I think again, depending on what every other team does. I mean, but if you just go win the series, you're probably hosting a super regional, like more than likely.
Yeah. I mean, that's you got to make it that far. But I mean, with the SEC schedule that you go through, Ross Kivitt talked about that grind and how it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
Because no lead is safe, at that point, you have major leaguers all up and down these rosters. So, I mean, finally getting to play like other teams and not just in a midweek game, but in like actual, like you're using Chad Dallas, Will Heflin, you're using Hundley and, all your regular starters. I think it sets you up well. Now I'm not saying it's a cakewalk by any means because these are good teams and there's a reason why they're in regionals. But yeah, I think it definitely helps you out for postseason play.
And too, we haven't mentioned this yet as far as like where you're going to fall in the last rankings. You also get to play at least one more SEC team after South Carolina. So you obviously, getting one win in the SEC tournament is a good way to pad the resume. It's a win-win for teams like Tennessee. That aren't at the top, but are near the top. It's a win-win. A loss isn't going to drop you too far, but as a win or a couple wins, could put you up at the top couple rankings.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we've talked about at the SEC tournament, but it's a great situation for Tennessee to. For any SEC team, but the position Tennessee's in this year. Excited for Hoover. The last time Tennessee was there was Auburn, and they played Auburn in, I guess that was 17 or 18. Sorry.
18. No, not 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah.
And
we lost to Auburn, I think.
Lost to Auburn, in the bottom of the ninth.
Christian Scott had a chance. He hit one. He smoked one. It was just caught at the warning track that would have ended it. And
so this will be it's going to be good to be back in Hoover. Hopefully to leaving them better circumstances. Obviously that they played good that game, and that Tennessee team played well above their expected target. So that was a team that gave it all their guy. I think this team's playing above their target, but I think they're also like you see the talents there. So whereas like that 19 team was like these dudes are just grinding. And there wasn't a ton of talent on that team. Whereas this team's grinding and has the talent. So, but yeah, hopefully leaving Hoover in some better spirits this time around.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Be nice to win a couple games there, and even if you don't win it, then you kind of have yourself heading in the right direction come regionals that next weekend.
Yep, definitely. All right. Anything else for baseball before we jump kind of over to some football?
That's all I got. I'm super excited where the rankings end up because you have, Tennessee did lose a series, but they lost to number one Arkansas. Mississippi State loses to Missouri. They're going to drop. Vanderbilt loses to Ole Miss, who was ranked, I think, 19th. I can look that up for sure. Yeah, 18th, sorry, per D1 baseball. So, I mean, they'll probably drop. So I don't think Tennessee maybe could even move up after a series loss like that. So be interesting to see where it ends up tomorrow. Also, I think it's huge for Tennessee baseball to get Connor Pavoloni back behind the plate.
He mentioned him a little bit. He played well this weekend too.
Yeah, got some hits, squared up a bunch of balls. Some were, right at people, but that's baseball. That's going to happen.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Jackson Greer did a great job. While he was kind of dealing with that hand injury.
I think that's a guy too that obviously out of necessity, but you found him in some midweek games. Obviously you feel like you get more out of Pavoloni, but then he came in, and he came in just a tough situation. I was actually thinking about that the other day, like where he came in that Vanderbilt game on Saturday night, and Vanderbilt had a ton of speed, and they took it right at him. Never let him get comfortable. And I mean, credit to Vanderbilt. First off, I mean, they can run bases. They don't have a problem in that category. But they saw I don't want to call it a weakness, but like where Tennessee has to bring in a guy who hadn't played tonight in a very, very tough situation. And I thought for confidence wise, that's got to bring you down a little bit. But dude, he's played really, really well over the last couple of weeks. He started getting hot in some midweek games. I think is when he hit that first big home run. And
Yeah.
I thought he gave Tennessee, postseason when you got a ton of games. Especially when you're that hand injury, it's probably not close to 100%.
No.
He's
still got to wrap a little bit.
So maybe give some relief if it's necessary, next week in Hoover, or whatever. So,
yeah, I think that's big to get him back, not just because, I thought Jackson Greer handled himself well. But it's just a guy who's been in the program for a long time, a guy that your pitchers trust. He's another big at bat, and he's a big leaguer. I mean, he was up there. I think he was a preseason All-American in some outlets. So definitely want to see him get back on track. And I think he started that this weekend. I don't think he started on Friday, but I think he came in. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think I remember thinking – I thought I remembered him being back. I couldn't remember. And then I think I remember thinking, I guess I dreamed that because I don't think he was in the starting lineup. But I was very confused for this weekend when obviously he played. But I don't think he started Friday night.
Yeah, definitely got to start on Saturday and Sunday. But I think that gives Tennessee a huge boost. Again, just staying healthy is huge for any team when it comes to postseason. Any sport, and I think Tennessee's pretty healthy right now. Yeah, you'd like to have a guy like Ben Joyce or Jackson Leith, in your bullpen or starting. But I think Tennessee's for the most part pretty healthy at this point in the season.
Yeah, obviously you're always going to deal with some injuries, but you haven't, like you said, lost too many guys. So it's been from that perspective. As soon as you started to say that, I was like, dude, Jackson Leith, we didn't even get to see him this year.
Yep.
And are there some weaknesses in the in that bullpen? Sure, no, not weaknesses. Do you have some areas of need in that bullpen? Sure, but dude, they played just as a group so good without arguably the best guy on the roster.
Yeah, absolutely. So, had a lot of guys step up this season for sure. Excited to see where we're at, and excited for another weekend and headed to Columbia. South Carolina, not Missouri.
Yeah, thank God. Not that one's better, but we know which one's worse. Okay, so let's talk a little football. Let's get into that. At least when you said best players this fall, I mean, I guess you could have been talking like volleyball or something, or maybe you wanted to talk some Lady Vol soccer. But I did prep for football, so
okay, yeah.
That's no shade to the other two either. I'll tell you their best players this fall. But we're talking. I plan for football, so we're gonna have to go football.
Yeah, I just it's not an episode if you don't talk a little bit about football. So
for sure.
I thought this would be interesting. Kind of talk about Tennessee's best player come this fall. I think it could be a number of players, and I think a guy that it might need to be not necessarily it will, but a guy that I would love to see it happen is Alontae Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to go offense. I think, Tennessee's got some playmakers on offense, but they need an eraser on defense and a guy that can blitz, a guy that can tackle, a guy that has all the intangibles to be a lockdown corner in this league is Alontae Taylor. Now, if he can just erase the bonehead mistakes at different times in the season, I think he's got a shot to be a really good player. And, I mentioned the intangibles. I mean, he could be a high round draft pick, but you got to erase the mental lapses.
I think he's in a similar spot to Bryce Thompson as when you talk about getting drafted. I think to get drafted, he's going to have a pretty good year. I'm not even talking about it, get into the high round. I think he's going to have to. Now he may get, where Bryce Thompson didn't get it. I think he probably gets a combine invite, so maybe he got to play good enough. But I'd say right now he's getting an invite. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing. But anyways, I think he may benefit from a normal year, not a COVID dealing with where they didn't have a combine. But yeah, I like that. I think he obviously didn't play his best football last year, and you desperately needed him to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the year before that, he had a decent season, but it was kind of in the doghouse a lot with the BYU game kind of started it, but just those mental lapses. And the year before that, he was outstanding. I mean, you saw the potential from his freshman year. He was a preseason All-American, and then just and he's not a guy that's going to have a ton of interceptions because I just think he's a different style.
Yeah, he's way more aggressive.
Yeah, than like a Bryce Thompson who like has the ball skills and stuff like that. Not to say Alontae Taylor doesn't have the ball skills. I mean, the dude played quarterback in high school. I think he's got plenty of ball skills. I think at one point he was in the receiver room.
Right.
But I just want to see him kind of used as like a threat to, if you're not getting a ton of pressure up front, I think he's a guy that can come off the edge and blitz from his corner spot and could really be a threat for opposing offenses.
Yeah, no, I like the way I like the way Alontae Taylor plays at the line of scrimmage. Definitely. Obviously, you like the ball skill corners. Those ones get you the ball back more often than the type that Alontae Taylor is. But he helps Tennessee out a lot. I think too the aggressiveness is really really great at the line of scrimmage with the new RPO stuff where. A lot of last minute decisions made at the line of scrimmage, more so than So I think it fits that very. I think I like Alontae Taylor. I hope he's one of the better players for Tennessee this fall. So how'd you do it? Like, are you gonna flip defense offense, or are you just going after it? Just your best guys.
I'm just letting it have it. I mean, like you could go a number of players. I would like to see Tyler Barron make that next step. I don't really know who steps up at that kind of pass rusher. It's got to be somebody,
right?
So who is it going to be? A Byron Young? Is it going to be maybe a Bryson Eason? But I think Tyler Barron, from what we saw last year, I think he has the intangibles to do it. He's already kind of taken on that leadership role. Kind of similar to Alontae Taylor, when he kind of took over the Vol leaders, and then he does the Tay Talks. I think Tyler Barron is starting to get more and more exposure and just kind of thought of as a leader in that locker room. So yeah, I just want to see him kind of maximize his potential. The kid's huge. I think like I go back to the intangibles. He looks like a NFL player.
Yeah.
Now, can he build on the production he had last season and really, be a thorn in some quarterback sides? Maybe more of a thorn. Maybe more like a tree falling on him. I don't know.
Yeah, a bit more aggressive. The first one I've got is, and really too, I think at least what from outside looking in and just judging by the kind of things you mentioned, like Tay Talks, I think Velus Jones Jr. is doing something like that, right?
Yep.
I think
he has like his own YouTube vlog.
I don't know if it's because he's, probably one of the oldest guys in the room, added with, like, you saw a pretty big exit from like most of the leaders this year, but he seems to be much more of a leader this year, which sometimes it's hard for transfers to come in and be leaders because you're the old guy, but you're the new guy. So it's kind of hard, but I think
now we're the Tennessee Trojans, so
just bringing the USC guys over. But I think it's probably being one of the older guys in there. You do you're going to have another year, and then mix with like pretty much every other leader's gone. Like there's not a lot of returning leaders. Probably Alontae Taylor on the defensive side of the ball, and that's about it.
And Matthew Butler.
Matthew Butler is returning. Yeah, so I mean, not a ton of leaders. So I think he's probably stepped up. So I'm hoping that being an older guy maybe helps some of these younger guys along faster. But I also think, and especially in Heupel's offense, it's going to be great for him and Jalen Hyatt getting their speed and just trying to get them into space and the ball in their hands. I think it's going to be a good situation for him. Obviously, it's a guy that just didn't quite make the plays you wanted him to last year. So kind of like Alontae Taylor, the talent's there. You hope the production matches it.
Yeah. I think you have to go with Velus Jones or Jalen Hyatt. Like it's going to be one of those guys that get the majority of the receptions. They're going to split. Like both of them are going to have receptions, but one's probably going to have the bulk of it. And I think Jalen Hyatt just has that maybe Velus Jones has the experience, but Jalen Hyatt, he just has that like the speed. Like he just looks more of like an NFL receiver.
And I think too, and I don't know which one it is, but I think the answer to who's going to get more of the looks, more of the receptions this year, more of the targets. I think it's going to be whoever just does a really, really good job of finding space on the field. So yeah, good route runner's part of it, but you also kind of Hype will also just from the videos I've seen of UCF, like it's just getting guys into space. And so whoever can do a better job of doing that, I think will be it. I don't think I saw enough last year to confidently give you an answer of who I think that would be. But
yeah, I agree with that. Also, I guess going back to the defense, because I feel like you might know offensively. Like Jabari Small is probably going to be your best running back. You have Jalen Hyatt, Velus Jones, Cade Mays up front. Darnell Wright up front. I think those guys are probably like not set in stone, but like they're you at least like kind of know in the back of your head like those guys are probably going to be your best players on offense.
Right.
Jawan Mitchell, he made a list of, I think it was the SEC Mike made a list of the top transfers in the SEC, and Jawan Mitchell was number 4. Henry To'oTo'o was number 3. So, I mean, like, Henry To'oTo'o is probably your best defensive player last year. If Jawan Mitchell is right there with him, he's probably your best defensive player this season. Texas, he was Texas' leading tackler last year. I just hope this is a better – I don't know what went down at Texas. I don't know really – I know they had a coaching change, but I don't know the reasons why he left. But I hope this is the right situation for him and he's able to maximize, because Tennessee desperately needs it at linebacker, because you don't
for
have
sure
hardly anybody.
For sure. I mean, linebacker is obviously the biggest area of need defensively. So, yeah, obviously you want to bring some other, you want to hope that guy you brought in does at least replace the production you lost. Because even if you had Henry To'oTo'o this year, you would still be asking the same question about, who's going to be your edge rusher, who's going to make plays in the passing game. Like, there's still those questions there, even if Henry To'oTo'o is there. So you definitely want to at least replace some of that production that he leaves. Defensive side of the ball, man. I think it's tough to judge who your best players over here are going to be. The ones that I'm really, really hoping figured out, because you heard so much good stuff about him last year before the season. Warren Burrell, I think, is a guy that I think a lot of people were, expecting so much out of him, because in fall camp, I guess is what it would be called last year, all the noise coming out of it, the defensive side of the ball, was Warren Burrell. Warren Burrell, he's playing fantastic. He's so I hope he comes along, because I think obviously everywhere on the defensive side of the ball is thin, but I mean, so is the defensive back position. So can Warren Burrell take, is he doing it on the practice field? Can he take that next step? Let's find out.
Yeah. Flowers is another one that, has kind of been hampered by injuries since he's been here, but has had that potential, super athletic. We mentioned the ball skills with Lante Taylor. I mean, he's got that. He was a big baseball prospect as well. So, I think he was probably your most consistent, definitely a safety. But as far as like your defensive backs, he was probably your most consistent. Maybe Bryce Thompson, but I think Trayvon Flowers is a guy who you could really like. It's not good when your safeties are helping out in the run game.
But he also played with the line of scrimmage a lot, and
right.
he's kind of like Lante Taylor. He was really good in the run game, really aggressive. So yeah, you're right. You don't want your defensive back, to be your leading tackler or anything. Not that Trayvon Flowers was, but he had a lot of tackles, and yeah, he did. You're right.
Yeah, I think he's another one that could really benefit from maybe a new coaching staff, benefit from maybe just going out and playing ball.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these players, I don't know how difficult that defense was to learn, but apparently, it wasn't great here. So apparently it was pretty difficult. So hopefully, maybe they're able to get the green light and maybe just go, have their responsibilities, but also just, go ball.
Well, you just want to, in this style of play that Heupel is going to, bring, you do kind of get the freedom to fly around a little bit, really be aggressive, and make some mistakes because you're not trying to get a ton of stops. You're trying to slow them down or get turnovers. You're not grinding out downs.
It's about big plays. Like on offense and defense, you want big plays.
Yeah, so you almost get the freedom to just kind of fly around. Like you make a mistake, all right, like our offense is going to come on and score. You just need to go out there and try and get the ball. So I think it does add. It does. Yeah, you have responsibilities just like any position, but it does add a little bit of freedom to that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to mention Jabari Small because I think he's another guy that can, is going to have to take on that production of what Eric Gray did last year.
Right.
And he played a little bit and had some good carries, but not enough where you can just bank on him being Tennessee's most dominant player on that offensive side of the ball. But giving him some room, I think he carries his weight well, so he's able to run through some contact. But I think giving him some room to run is beneficial as well with this, and that's what this offense is going to give him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to probably need a big year from him because you really don't have – he's the most experienced running back on this roster. So definitely. Last one I want to mention on the defensive side of the ball, just because kind of mentioned it with Warren Burrell. Morvin Joseph, you talked about it a minute ago, needing an edge rusher guy, which I guess we don't even know what
he's at inside linebacker right now.
So he's an inside linebacker?
Yeah.
Surely that changes, right? I don't know. I just would think with your needs, you have a needed inside linebacker, but is it greater than your need for an edge rusher? And I just think if we're just going off talent, and I think that's pretty much all you can go off of because of there's not any production from anybody. You need an edge rusher desperately, and I would think he would be one of your more talented ones.
Yeah, because you moved Roman Harrison to inside linebacker too, and maybe it had to do with a lot because Jeremy Banks and Roman Harrison were all injured during the spring, so you had to have somebody there. So maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I thought that he would be a guy that you'd put in that position, but you moved Bryson Eason to kind of that position. You have Tyler Barron, Byron Young, so maybe they thought that was a better fit for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see him experiment with some guys in those two positions because you kind of have some in-betweeners. Like Bryson Eason, like he's not like a typical NFL edge rusher body.
Right.
He's huge, but not like tall-wise. He's not like a 6'4". I think he's around 6'1".
Yeah.
And like 280. So I don't know. He'd be a bigger linebacker, but he's kind of a smaller edge rusher. So yeah, you kind of have those kind of in between guys. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of what kind of lines out because when those guys come back, where does Morvin Joseph kind of land in that depth chart?
Yeah, I agree. I hope though that he gets a big year because I think the talent's there. So definitely see with him. Definitely a question for. A lot of those guys, but a lot of just hope. I think there's a lot of questions, so just a lot of hope right now for Tennessee. It's going to be definitely an interesting year, but I think all things considered, I think it could be a decent year for Tennessee. When I say all things, I just mean schedule lines up nicely with you, and I think surely you at least score some points, right?
Yeah, and hopefully we're talking about the end of the season, like who was Tennessee's best players. Hopefully it was a quarterback in there.
Yeah, that's a great point too. It's almost got to be, right?
Yeah.
So, do we have any more questions before we get into our segments?
That's all the questions I have.
I don't think we got any in the chat. No questions there. Sorry, I did a poor job of watching it during the show. All right, well, most important of the week. What do you got?
Most important. Let me pull it. So one of my most important was the Myrtle Beach Pelicans doing the $1 beer day.
Okay.
And putting it in the beer bats. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I would just like obviously I'd like to drink it, but I'd like to have that souvenir too. That's pretty
dope. Love souvenirs, right? Souvenir beers, souvenir drinks. My first one is Barstool Sports Foreplay Pod to be specific. They are so I don't know if we talked about it or if you saw it, but the NCAA canceled the Baton Rouge regional for the women's golf. for women's golf, and they had said it. They couldn't. They said the course was. This is the issue, and why it's so stupid. They said the course was playable, but not playable at a championship level. Well, like if your options are don't play or just qualify the top 6 seeds, and it's playable but not at a championship level, everyone plays the same course. You play it. Like it's that. And like, I mean, I would think if it's playable, that means it's not a safety hazard either. So it's not like we just don't know if it's safe. We're not doing it. Like, sounds like you could have played the tournament, and instead they just canceled it, moved the top 6 teams on. Obviously, this isn't equal, but Barstool's doing a 4Play's doing a tournament for the teams that did not advance, so they get to play one more game or one more match and one more tournament. So they're putting it on for all those teams in Arizona. So I think that's pretty awesome. Terrible NCAA. Like obviously, just they can never make the right decision, and I don't mean that to like let them off on like this was an obvious decision that you just played the tournament, and they failed at that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have any more most importance, but my next fail of the week is them keeping the regionals right now at 50%. It's like most of these regionals that have been playing games are at 100%. And now you expect them to take away that home field advantage that they worked so hard to get, and you make them go to 50%.
Yeah, and my question too about the regional, I assume when they did the bid for it, they probably had to agree to 50% for sure, like no funny business. But man, how great would it be if all of the sites were just like, no, we're shoving it to them and we're going 100%.
Yeah, like what could they do?
I guess if like one did it, they could give it to another team. But I mean, unless they don't tell. I mean, but they'd have to tell the fans. So the NCAA would know before like the night of it. It can't be like they show up and like, oh, wait, what? So that's the thing. Right. It's like, but I think if all 20 were like, no, we're doing 100%. Yeah, I mean, what would you do?
Yeah, you're just not going to have it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you kind of do something like, I mean, not the exact extent, but like you just have your own. Like you just go play these games. Like that's what I don't understand why the NCAA has so much pull when all these teams could just be like, yeah, we're not using you anymore.
Okay, that needs to be a conversation because someone needs to step in. But the problem is it's all the people making the decisions are the university. I mean, and they've now hired people, and terrible precedents have been set over time. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's all of the athletic directors and university presidents that are making these decisions.
Yeah,
and so that's the only thing because you have it set up where. Yeah, they don't necessarily have a say in literally every decision, but like they make the rules. They do, elect people to these positions. So it's like that's why they don't leave because it's the university. It's dumb to an extent, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, I wish they could leave. One day.
It's gonna happen, right?
The problem is like it can't just be one team break away. They wouldn't have anybody to play.
It's got to be like a conference.
Yeah, it's going to have to be another NCAA, and then because that's going to be the same thing. It's going to be presidents and ADs running it. Then you have to find a way to like not let it get back to this point. It's just like
it's like they're redoing cable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Eventually, you're just like, wait a minute. Now I have cable again. After you realize you have Hulu and Netflix and HBO Max and Stars, and you pay for the CBS packages and in ESPN Plus, and you're like, okay, I'll just have cable again now. That's cable. And
I have to go to a separate app to get all this. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Exactly.
I'm going back to cable.
Yeah, eventually you just reinvent the NCAA unless you really had. Yes, it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like at some point, like you're just going to be like, how do you keep making bad decisions? Like you said that earlier. I'll never know.
Never understand it. I did not have any more I don't think I had any more most important. Let me check about fails here, but yeah,
I was going to say Garrett Crochet got his first win, but I think we talked about that on Wednesday.
Yeah, because did he get Tuesday night or Wednesday night?
I think he got it Tuesday.
Okay. I talked about Rush Probst on here, yeah, because you made me say something mean about some high schools in Knoxville when I mentioned it.
Big Probst guy.
Oh, I love Rush Probst. How can you not? So I bought 2 days and I only watched like 2 episodes. So
this before.
Yeah, it was during COVID last year when I literally did, like legit like nothing. Like nothing was open except the grocery store. That type of. I don't have any fails. It's been a failless back half of the week.
Failless.
That's not true. There's probably been a lot.
There probably has. I've been so busy this week. Like my sister got married, so I wasn't able to go to the game.
Congrats
on Friday. Yeah, everything nothing went terrible, so that's good. That's like a positive to a wedding. Like nothing went terribly wrong.
So isn't it great for a wedding? But I think that's bad luck for the marriage, right? Like you got to have a couple incidences.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. I think obviously, hey, you get to have a great time that night. Nothing happened, but yeah, I think that's bad luck. Don't tell your sister that, but.
Well, I'm trying to think now. Did anything like terrible happen at mine? Other than we were like in a foot of mud.
That was hilarious. I couldn't even when you stand, you kind of like sway, move your feet, keep from passing out. I was like glued. It was like suction. So I couldn't pick up my legs. No, nothing bad happened at your wedding. There was
the groom's mom and the best man were dancing and they fell. They both fell.
Oh, I thought you meant at your wedding. I was like,
no.
I was dancing, I was dancing with your mom. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I'm sure I did at some point, but I don't remember it, and I didn't remember anything happening from it. So I was like, Tracy, I swear nothing happened.
So yeah, so that happened. So maybe that's something. I don't know.
I don't know. I honestly, I feel like I just made that up, but it sounds like a tradition. Because maybe it's something like, you know what? This is probably what it is. I probably heard people like say it to brides when like something happens. You're like, that's good luck. Like you need something.
Oh, that's just a calming down tactic.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So it may be one of those kind of superstitions. But yeah, no, there is some stuff happening at your wedding, but I wouldn't call it bad. Just normal people being drunk, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. I think I
the
know
fishing. Well, there were several moments for that reason, but the fishing line was probably my favorite because it started a heated argument between two groomsmen, two of our best friends, and it was all my fault. And I did not fess up. I think I've told Brody now, but I did not fess up. Still technically have not fully fessed up, but it was hilarious, and it was a heated.
Yeah, that fishing line was everywhere.
And the fishing line was everywhere.
Like you made a fishing net.
Just about.
You were catching everybody.
And I think the one off your car was like a good 100 feet long too. Like it wasn't even just the one I accidentally brought up to the reception hall. Like it was everywhere. That fishing line is not fun.
No.
Like I don't.
And it's like the worst thing to try to get untangled too.
Not just untangled, it gets like a freaking like cords behind your TV times a billion.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Good luck. You got to use all your fingernails and stuff to get it undone.
Yeah. And there's so much of it. It's never ending,
and it's hard to see too. Like
it's impossible to see. Yeah, exactly. See so many.
And it was kind of getting dark when
it was pitch black. Like we could not see at all. So I brought it up. I can't remember how, but like it got stuck on my shoe or something, and I brought it like not it wasn't heavy enough for me to like notice it. Pulled all the way up to the house, and I kind of like, okay, I've got it on me. So I kicked it off my shoe, and everyone was tripping in it from the car all the way up. It was and that was probably 500 yards. No, not 500 yards, 100 yards. I was gonna say 500 feet, but. It's closer to 100 yards than 500 yards is to 100 yards.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? Especially when you've been drinking too. That was miserable. You're like, what is this?
It was hilarious. Terrible. All right. I don't think no more fails. Okay. Anything else? Doesn't have to be a fail.
That's all I got. I hope everybody's chili's hot like Max Ferguson's was on Saturday.
Right. Chili's always got to be hot.
Yep.
Guys, it's been fun. Hope you all have a great Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever it is when you're listening to this. Tuesday morning, I don't know. We will see you back here on Wednesday. The Vols even do they have a midweek game this week?
Yeah, they play Belmont on Tuesday.
Okay, I was going to say I thought they did. Are they in Nashville for that?
Yeah, no, it's at home.
It's at home. Okay, yeah. And then close out the season at South Carolina on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Enjoy your week. We'll be back talking about that Belmont game. Also, I will be on the Bat Flip tomorrow. Talk about Tennessee's series a little bit more with Dylan Taylor, and then we will be back Wednesday talking, everything.
Let's do it.
Anything that y'all want to talk about. That's all we got. We're bringing the boat in, and we out.